everybody. I think we are getting ready to begin. Thank you all for joining us. We're going to begin first by acknowledging the traditional territory on which this university resides. Ontario Tech acknowledges the lands of the people of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We're thankful to be welcomed on these lands in friendship. The lands we are situated on are covered under the Williams Treaties and the traditional territory of the Mississaugas, a branch of the greater Anishinaabe Nation, including Algonquin, Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi. These lands remain home to a number of Indigenous nations and people. We acknowledge this land out of respect for our Indigenous nations who have cared for Turtle Island, also called North America, from before the arrival of the settler peoples until this day. Most importantly, we remember the history of these lands has been tainted by the poor treatment and lack of friendship with the First Nations who called them home. This history is something we are all affected by, as we're all treaty people in Canada. We all have a shared history to reflect on, and each of us is affected by this history in different ways. Our past defines our present, but if we move forward as friends and allies, then it doesn't have to define our future. I'm Dr. Vivian Simatopoulos, and I'm an associate teaching professor here at Ontario Tech in the Faculty of Social Sciences and Humanities. I remember this event last year was the last time I was actually on campus, and I can't believe it's been an entire year living in this pandemic. That said, to officially kick off today's competition, I want to welcome to the screen, so to speak, Dr. Stephen Murphy, our President and Vice Chancellor of Ontario Tech, to open up this year's 2021 3-minute thesis finals competition.
Thanks so much, Vivian, and it's so great to have you back in your energy. This is such a great time to be able to continue a tradition. I think that we've all had a difficult time with this year, and it's certainly been less than optimal on so many levels. But where we can continue a tradition, I think it gives us all great meaning. And the 3-minute thesis is a really positive and upbeat time where we get to showcase our wonderful graduate students and how much work they do. And I just want to give a shout out to all graduate students who may be watching today and tell you that we see you. I know from thinking back to my own master's and doctoral program that these programs are tough enough, and when you add in a pandemic, it makes them very tough to think about all of the challenges that you have to go through as a grad student. How you can feel isolated in the best of times, how you can be working in your lab late at night, how you can be writing and wondering if you're ever going to get your thesis done or your proposal done. And doing so in a pandemic is that much more difficult. So I salute you. I also tell you to look after your mental health and to use the resources as you need them. I want to be much more upbeat in talking about the 3-minute thesis, but I do think that that's a really important message. So in this time of COVID, as I've said, there's always opportunities if we look for them in life. And there are opportunities that come with COVID. For me, science has really rejuvenated itself in COVID. We've had to turn to science for vaccines. We've had to turn to medical health officers. We've seen the importance of people who are well educated across our society in helping to make decisions, and certainly in help guiding our university to make its decisions. So there's a real opportunity here. What you can see in all of that is that, there's a skill to articulate science in lay terms to really be able to amplify change or get your message across to people. And what a great example. The 3-minute thesis is such a great example of learning about academic communications so early on in your career. Regardless what you go on to do, you will be asked, how does your studies or how does what you do in your job, how does the science or the social science that you perform, how does that relate to everyday life? And if you ask one of your professors, I think they'll tell you they hear that question all the time, where they have to take what they do on a daily basis and make that translatable to a lay person. And so learning those skills now, learning them in a safe environment where, quite frankly, you can fall down amongst friends and get yourself back up, I think is so great. Today, of course, we're celebrating our finals, and we've got 7 finalists. I want to give a shout out to the 31 students who came forward at our university to be part of the 3MT, and of course, congratulate the 7 who are moving on that we'll see today. Our students are bright, they're bold, you will absolutely change the world, but you can also have your ideas in science better understood. And this is a great way to start that. And in a world that tends to talk past each other in safe little sound bubbles, we have never needed people who are articulate, who can say, no, in fact, this is what the science says, and can convey that with a sense of confidence and of backing and knowing their topic area. So I'm so thrilled that we're going to continue this for so many reasons, but it seems particularly appropriate to be doing it as we see a shimmer of hope coming through this long COVID tunnel. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Vivian, and I really look forward to watching all of our students today.
Thank you, Stephen. Wise words, and I agree, take care of your mental health, and that applies to us faculty as well. So I know it's been challenging for me as well, converting to this online world, but we're all doing our best. So that said, I also want to jump to thanking our judges, because we have some wonderful judges today who we literally would be lost without. First is, and I'll let them wave when I introduce them, Juliana Rodriguez Dionisio Pereira. She is the Senior Manager, Model Development at Scotiabank, and also our gold sponsor. Everyone say hi to Juliana. All right, next is Janet Knight. Janet is the Executive VP at Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority and is also our silver sponsor. Please wave to everyone, Janet. Next, we have Absar Beg, who is the president at Lifelong Group of Companies. Please send a quick hello. Then we have Bradley Wambolt, who is the general manager of enterprise technology at Suncor. Please give everyone a wave, Bradley. Next is David Seamow, who is the chair, University Sector of QP Ontario. David, give everyone a wave, please. Next, we have Gord Simmons, who is the president and CEO of Lenbrook Corporation. Everyone say hello to Gord. Then we have Mary Meth, who is the vice president and CFO at the Municipal Property Assessment Corporation. And last but not least, Ron Oberth, president and CEO at Organization of Canadian Nuclear Industries. Hi, Ron. I would also like to thank our sponsors, without whom this event would not be possible. So Scotiabank is our gold sponsor, Hamilton Oshawa Port Authority is our silver sponsor, and Electricity Human Resources Canada is our bronze sponsor. So to set the scene for today, hopefully you've all received your digital program, so you're following along with the events. If not, you can also find a link to the digital program in the chat. All right, so let's recap a couple of things. We have these 7 amazing finalists, our graduate students who have put in countless hours of practice, probably a lot of sleepless nights as well, just to get to this point. We had 31 students participate in the heats leading up to today's event. And as you know now today, our judges will be scoring the top 7 finalists. Now, a quick rules recap. Participants can use one static slide, no props, no electronic media. It has to be limited to 3 minutes. And the talks must be memorized and spoken. So no poems or songs, which is probably good because if I had to sing, I would clear the room. And after each talk, we give the judges 2 minutes to score the presenters. Now, the speakers will be scored by the judges on the categories of comprehension, communication, and engagement. Our first placed student will win $1,000 and will represent Ontario Tech at the virtual provincial competition. Second place will receive $500, and the People's Choice Award will receive $250. At the end of the presentation, and while the judges are deliberating, we will launch a poll where you can nominate your choice for the People's Choice Award. Now, I think we're ready to get going. So not to delay this any longer, I want to address and introduce our first presenter, Rasheed Desai. Rasheed is pursuing his master's of health sciences and health informatics. He is a medical laboratory technician, researcher, consultant, and instructor who did his undergrad also at Ontario Tech. He's traveled to 16 countries across 3 continents. Wow, I've got some serious travel envy right now, and has conducted research projects in 2 of these countries. Rasheed is also a diehard Toronto sports fan. Now, Rasheed will be presenting heart rate variability as a predictor of anemia in premature infants. Please welcome Rasheed. Rasheed, are you there?
I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yep, I got you. Okay, so we will start your time now.
Today, I want to talk to you guys about oil changes and transfusions. So let's go on a journey. It's a beautiful day outside. You're driving your brand new car, and then you hear a beep. You look down and you look at the oil symbol. It's lit up. Now, to get this checked, you go to a technician. The technician pulls out your oil stick and looks for the oil quality and quantity. If either of these are concerning, then they do an oil top-up, which is just a replenishment of the oil. Usually, this fixes the problem and you're well on your way. 80 to 90% of premature infants are commonly admitted into the neonatal intensive care unit because of their physiological state. In monitoring these infants, a common occurrence is anemia. Now, anemia is the reduction of functional red blood cells that carry oxygen to your tissues. It is diagnosed via a protein known as hemoglobin. Hemoglobin is found in your blood. So to diagnose this protein, you need to do a blood draw. If the levels of hemoglobin are concerning, then you perform something known as a red blood cell top-up or a transfusion. Now, the inherent problem in this population is that they don't produce their own red blood cells for the first 3 months of life. This means every time we diagnose them, we're actually taking out storage of the red blood cells, which starts the cycle of drawing blood and having to give them blood. But what if I told you there was a better way? Now, in the car, there was an alert to us that made us go to get it checked out. But in babies, we don't have that alert system. Now, babies in the NICU are commonly monitored at the bedside. Indices such as heart rate, respiratory rate, blood oxygenation are all monitored. What if I told you there was a way we could use this information? My thesis focuses on exploring the relationships between heart rate variability and anemia at the bedside using an artificial intelligence solution known as Artemis. Artemis can take physiological streaming data from these bedside monitors, process, analyze it, and store it in real time. This means that I can take that heart rate information that is currently not being used, I can put it into a heart rate variability algorithm that looks at the beat-to-beat difference between each heart rate. If this algorithm detects a concerning trend, then it can create an alert for the physician. This is massive. This means that I can reduce the amount of blood draws, I can reduce the resultant transfusions, but most importantly, I can better patient outcomes for our tiniest human beings. With the power of AI, we can now make patient-centered decisions. So just remember, the next time you go for an oil change, you're basically giving your car a transfusion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rasheed. Well done. Now, we're going to give our judges 2 minutes to complete their scorecards. All right, I think our 2 minutes is up. Now I can introduce our next participant, Christine Flaherty. Are you there?
I am.
Hi.
Can you hear me fine?
I can beautifully. Christine is pursuing her Master's of Science in Applied Bioscience. Christine's favorite things to do in Oshawa are to buy Crave donuts. I hear you there. For any occasion, and especially when walking the conservation trails. And it's probably a smart thing you do that, because my absence of the latter is why I've put on a few pandemic pounds, so to speak. She also runs a small business selling live edge furniture during the pandemic. I want to see some of this, Christine. Now, Christine is going to be presenting Sunny with a Chance of Algae Blooms. Are you all ready?
Yep.
Okay, so we're going to set our timer to go now.
Let me paint you a picture. You're planning a beach day with all your friends. It's post-COVID, of course, and you make sure to check the weather. It looks like the perfect day. It's a high of 25 degrees Celsius, almost no wind, and sunny with a chance of algae blooms. Wait a minute. Did I just say algae blooms? Because what I meant was harmful algae blooms. This may sound like an outrageous thing to add to your forecast, but here in Ontario, the risk of harmful algae blooms is very real. Ontario has a common type of algae called cyanobacteria. You may have also heard it called blue-green algae. This cyanobacteria can produce toxic proteins that affect humans, dogs, livestock, and fish. Now, your perfect beach day also happens to be the perfect beach day for a harmful algae bloom to grow. We're talking warm, we're talking sunny, and not too windy. When you add in a hefty dose of phosphorus and nitrogen runoff from the surrounding cities and farms, we have the ideal conditions for one of these blooms to form. Now, why does this matter? I mean, how harmful could a harmful algae bloom actually be? Well, in humans, they can cause things like dermatitis, nausea, vomiting, atypical pneumonia, and a host of other issues. My research focuses on a group even more severely affected than humans, and that's the fish within our water. In fish, these toxic proteins affect the heart, the brain, and the liver, and can cause hemorrhaging, which can be lethal. To help understand these toxic effects, my thesis project involves me taking plasma and liver samples from fish in the spring before a bloom forms, in the summer when a bloom is at its peak, and in the fall after the bloom has gone away. That way we can see the whole effect on the fish. Makes sense, right? However, the results show it's just not that simple. When we checked the fish livers for a measurement of those toxic proteins that the blooms create, it showed that at least one fish from spring, summer, and fall all had significant levels of the toxic protein. That means that instead of fish just being affected by blooms in the summer months like we thought, they're experiencing toxic effects for at least 7 months of the year. Climate change is warming our waters, and this may contribute to an increase in the number of months that fish are being exposed to harmful algae blooms. My thesis is trying to help the scientific community and the general public understand exactly what these harmful algae blooms are doing to fish in our local waterways, and to determine if there's a way to help reduce the toxic effects. I hope my research is the beginning of a long road to understanding the effects of harmful algae blooms on both fish and humans, and we can educate everyone on the dangers associated with them. This way, the biggest worry you'll have for your next sunny beach day will just be a chance of showers. Thank you.
Thank you, Christine. Now we're going to give our judges 2 minutes to complete your scorecards. All right, we're ready for our next participant, Timothy Hurlborough. Now, Timothy is pursuing his Master's of Science in Applied Bioscience. When he's not researching, Timothy enjoys spending time with family and friends, and he also loves chess, mountain biking, minus accidental ER trips. That's why I tend to avoid biking, and reading C.S. Lewis, J.R.R. Tolkien, and Blaise Pascal. Now, Timothy is going to be presenting Fighting Bioterrorism by Visualizing the Invisible. Are you all ready?
Yep.
All right. The timer will start now.
Good afternoon, everyone. At this point, we are all familiar with the fallout of a global pandemic and the urgent need to detect relevant biomarkers quickly and efficiently. A similar need exists for detecting bioterror agents. Last September, a letter was sent to the White House containing a mysterious white powder known as ricin. Ricin is a highly accessible and lethal bioterror agent derived from castor beans. Just 2 beans can kill an adult. In fact, a 2018 study in the Journal of Military Medicine ranked ricin as the #1 bioweapon threat. Ricin also happens to be the biomolecule at the center of my research. Existing technology to detect ricin can be costly and bulky. Therefore, it can be difficult to mount a real-time response in the field, and testing is largely inaccessible in remote and marginalized communities. Personal computers no longer weigh a ton and cost $1 million. Life-saving diagnostic technology must continue to follow suit. My research is an effort to design a next-generation portable diagnostic device that offers greater convenience, sensitivity, and affordability than some existing technologies. The concept of our detection method is simple. The target molecule, in our case ricin, enters a tiny pore and blocks the flow of ions which move across the pore in response to an applied voltage. We then map the specific pattern of blockage to ricin. This so-called nanopore technology is quickly emerging as a versatile tool. In fact, It's already been used to monitor pathogens in multiple outbreak situations, including Zika and Ebola. We want to extend this technology to detect ricin. However, a fundamental challenge in biological research is attaining an atomic level description and mechanistic understanding of experimental results. Computer simulations offer a complementary approach. The goal of simulations is to identify causal factors underlying experimental results. That's where my research comes in. My research uses a powerful computer to simulate and visualize the dynamics of ricin within a nanopore system. This enables us to predict the optimal nanopore geometry and conditions to detect ricin. My hope is that though my research is nanoscopic, that it will help make a large, tangible impact. Thank you.
Thank you, Timothy. Now we're going to let the judges take 2 minutes to complete their scorecards. All right, we are ready to introduce the next participant, Devon Campbell. Now, Devonte is pursuing his Master's of Health Sciences in Kinesiology. Devonte has played guitar for over 10 years and draws a lot of inspiration from B.B. King. He's also a huge Blue Jays and Raptors fan, and his favorite musical artists are J. Cole, P.S. Power Trip is one of my favorite songs, and Kendrick Lamar. Please welcome Devonte to present subclinical neck pain alters cerebellar processing as demonstrated by disruption in the oculomotor reflexes. Are you ready?
Yep, can you all hear me?
Yep, perfect. Okay, your time will start now.
Perfect. Picture this. You just finished your 5th online lecture of the week or your 3rd 2-hour Zoom meeting for work. And now you're starting to experience a little bit of neck pain. And due to the ongoing state of the pandemic, this neck pain has become a recurrent issue in your life. See, what you may be experiencing is a very specific form of neck pain known as subclinical neck pain, or SCNP for short. See, SCNP is defined as recurrent episodes of mild to moderate neck pain that has not yet received treatment. And due to the majority of the population operating in the online world right now, this prevalence of SCNP is bound to rise. But why is this an issue, you may ask? Well, one common symptom seen in individuals with neck pain who also partake in prolonged screen time is dizziness. However, most people just brush off this dizziness as eye fatigue or altered vision due to staring at a screen for too long. But what if this dizziness was actually due to the combination of both the neck pain and this altered vision, or more specifically, alterations in our eye movement reflexes? In our daily lives, there are 2 eye movement reflexes that we heavily rely upon in order to maintain proper balance and coordination. The first of those being the cervical ocular reflex, or COR for short. See, the COR maintains our vision by keeping our eyes fixated in our sockets as our body is rotating from left to right. For example, my eyes stay fixated at the center of the screen as my body rotates from left to right in my chair. However, to fully maintain our body's balance and coordination, the COR must work in conjunction with another eye movement reflex known as the vestibulo-ocular reflex, or VOR for short. See, the VOR maintains our vision by moving our eyes in the opposite direction and at the same speed of a head rotation. For example, when you're saying no to somebody, such as by shaking your head, such as this. And interestingly, research has demonstrated that neck pain may alter the body's ability to control these eye movement reflexes. However, the issue is that majority of these studies have not looked at these alterations from a neurological perspective. And that's where we come in. Both these eye movement reflexes are directly controlled by a region of our brain known as the cerebellum. And one of the roles of the cerebellum is to maintain our body's balance and coordination by taking in sensory information from all across our body. And recently, research has demonstrated that SCNP may alter the cerebellum's ability to maintain our body's balance and coordination, therefore leading to the disruptions we see in these eye movement reflexes in individuals with SCNP. This also may account for some of the adverse symptoms we see in individuals with SCNP, such as dizziness, headaches, and vertigo. By using high-speed eye tracking technology, my study aims to investigate the relationship between alterations in these eye movement reflexes and the cerebellum in individuals with SCNP. By understanding how SCNP alters these eye movement reflexes and the cerebellum, we may be able to develop treatment plans in order to improve the balance and coordination in individuals with SCNP, such as chiropractic care and physiotherapy. Now, if you excuse me, I think I'm going to put my laptop away for a while. All this screen time has made my neck a little bit stiff. Thank you.
Thanks, Devonte. Now we'll give the judges 2 minutes to complete their scorecard. All right, it's time for our next speaker, Anna Espinoza. Anna is pursuing her Master's of Science in Forensic Psychology. She's an international student from Mexico, and her current research derives from her keen interest in studying factors that impact children's development and well-being. And she also loves practicing yoga and mindfulness, two things I really need to do myself. Please welcome Anna, and she will be presenting jurors' perceptions of children testifying in their non-native language. Anna, are you ready?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we're going to start the timer now.
Back in 2012, a toddler named Ezekiel passed away in Alberta. His parents were charged for failing to provide him the necessities of life. They were eventually acquitted in a trial in which the Nigerian doctor that performed Ezekiel's autopsy testified in English. However, the judge described this doctor's testimony as garbled and incomprehensible due to his accent, grammar, and pronunciation. If testifying in his non-native language so negatively affected how this adult expert witness was perceived, how do you think jurors might view children in similar situations? Or for instance, how would you feel if the 3MT judges assessed the non-native competitors more negatively than the native ones just because of their way of speaking? The migration rates are predicted to keep rising. In fact, by 2036, almost 50% of the children in Canada will be foreign-born or born to foreign-born parents. This increases the likelihood of interactions between institutional or legal authorities and non-native speakers. The fact is that we must rely on children's testimonies to solve and prosecute various crimes, such as maltreatment, like sexual abuse, especially in our increasingly global society that involves children testifying via language interpreters. Yet, virtually nothing is known about how potential jurors perceive interpreter-mediated testimonies and how much such testimonies affect the guilty verdict. In our study, we'll systematically and experimentally test mock jurors' perceptions of interpreter-mediated interviews with child witnesses. Specifically, adults will answer an online survey after listening to different interviews, one of a child and one of an adolescent, both testifying about a crime either in the presence or absence of an interpreter. We'll be addressing the following questions. How do mock jurors perceive children testifying via an interpreter? And what are the factors that affect these perceptions and the guilty verdict? We'll be analyzing the results using a 2x2 ANOVA design, with the manipulated variables, the child's age and the interpreter's presence, and the outcome variables, the guilt verdict and the juror's perceptions such as accuracy or credibility. No witness should fear that their testimony will be discredited because of their manner of speech, such as what happened to Dr. Aekbo. Our study will yield valuable insights about the under-researched interpreter-mediated interviews, and it will help us determine the best way for non-native children to have their voices heard in the legal context. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Anna. Now to the judges to take 2 minutes to perform or complete your scorecards. All right, we are ready for our next participant, David McNabby. Please enter the virtual screen. Now, David is pursuing his Master's of Science in Applied Bioscience. He loves to swim. His favorite color is orange, has 4 cats, and is a fully licensed aerial exterminator who has treated for mosquitoes and biting flies in a remote town in Labrador. That is so random and interesting. Today, David is going to be presenting harmful algae blooms. What's our 8 minutes? Are you all ready, David?
Yep.
Okay, you can start now.
In the summer of 2012, a solar flare was hurtling towards Earth, warning us that something extremely dangerous was going to happen. While solar flares are normal, they're often a warning sign of something extremely dangerous that's going to happen. Beginning as explosions on the surface of the sun, solar flares give us about 8 minutes of warning before X-rays and extreme ultraviolet radiation reach Earth. Following those rays, charged particles knock out satellite electronics, disrupting GPS and other forms of communication. Finally, billion-ton clouds of magnetized plasma accelerate towards Earth, breaking anything that uses electricity. It's a nightmare that would bring us back to the Stone Age, but luckily for us, that solar storm missed us by about 9 days. Also, in the summer of 2012, blooms of algae were stirring in the lakes of the Kawarthas. While algal blooms are normal, they can often become toxic and wreak havoc. They begin as harmless green communities floating on the surfaces of lakes, but then they quickly cover everything in thick, soupy green mats, becoming monstrous in size and giving off foul odors. Next, certain species within the bloom make toxic molecules that can impair or kill fish and pets, or even make humans sick. Finally, when the blooms eventually die, the algae sink to the bottom of the lake where bacteria use up all of the oxygen in the water to decompose them, creating areas of what's called hypoxia. These areas of hypoxia are devoid of oxygen and can move around the lake, choking out any fish unlucky enough to get in their way. It's a nightmare for our lakes, but luckily for those in the Kawarthas, not all blooms became harmful that summer. But why is that? Unlike solar flares, which are the indicators that a solar storm is imminent, we don't know what indicates a switch from a normal algal bloom to a harmful algal bloom before it's too late. This means that we don't know what the equivalent 8 minutes of warning is between a normal bloom and one that can kill fish and make us sick. To try and figure out what that indicator is, and to know how long we have to prepare for a harmful algal bloom, we have to look at things on a molecular level. What if we could look at the metabolites produced by the algae? Metabolites are products of metabolism, growth, and toxin production. And by using liquid chromatography and mass spectrometry, we can isolate these molecules from consecutive weeks of water sampling to identify which might be that indicator that we're looking for. If we know what that indicator is, we can close beaches early to prevent any humans or animals from becoming sick. We can implement preventative algae control devices such as aeration or water bubbling. And ultimately, we can reduce the impact of harmful algal blooms as much as possible. Now, algal blooms are expected to become more and more frequent as the climate continues to change. Therefore, finding a molecular switch to indicate when these blooms will become toxic is imperative if we want to continue safely enjoying our lakes. One day, we will determine what our equivalent 8 minutes is, and whether it's 60 minutes, 12 hours, or 2 days, whatever it is, hopefully it will be enough time to allow us to take control over these green monsters once and for all. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Now we will go to our judges to take 2 minutes to complete their scorecards. All right, welcome back. So our next participant is Kira Karia. Hi, Kira. Kira is pursuing his Master's of Science in Computer Science. Kira is a lifelong lover of science fiction and wishes to combine his background in software engineering with cutting edge of AI research to help make the dreams of Asimov and Clarke a reality. When not doing research, Kira enjoys reading, cooking, and meddling around inside his computer. Now, please welcome Kira to present Predicting Multi-Human Motion with Computer Vision. Kira, you ready?
Yeah, can everyone hear me?
Yep. All right, you're good to go.
I want everyone to take a second and think about how to answer the following question. How do you throw a ball to someone? And I don't just mean the physical act, but how do you throw a ball and make sure it gets to them while they're moving? You see, the answer to this question is a lot deeper than it sounds, because it's the same thing that informs everything we do, from driving to synchronized swimming. Humans have an innate ability to model an ever-changing environment. We are, all of us, predicting the future, albeit by only a few seconds. This ability gives us the chance to do things like forecasting roughly where our target is going to be and fit a parabolic curve to make sure the ball gets there. And we don't even think about it. Now, I've been captivated by the idea of artificial intelligence systems that work alongside us. So naturally, the huge progress we've made in the past decade is like a dream come true for me. However, if we want to be able to build robots that can physically interact with the world, we need to try and make sure it can understand the world like us. But most importantly, we need to make sure it can understand us. The prior of these is exceedingly difficult right now, but the latter grows more within reach. The first foray into understanding humans in an image or a video started with bounding boxes. They were good for providing a rough estimate of where a person is. Then the industry started working with key points. Here, locations mark important joints of the human body in 2D or 3D space. This gives us a rough idea of pose. Both of these paradigms were extended from simple extraction and are now widely used for more involved tasks like predicting future key points or bounding boxes based on a film strip of past frames. Then, in 2015, the Max Planck Institute of Intelligent Systems released the SMPL body model. It's an acronym, it stands for something long and complex, so we're just gonna keep it simple. 2015 may not seem like a long time ago, but back then, they were able to scan 4,000 people and use it to create a machine learning approximation of the human body. Since then, it's been extended for tasks such as reconstructing multiple people within an image, and even to reconstruct the future prediction of a single person in a cropped video. My research focuses on building a system that can take in a video containing multiple people and predict a consistent reconstruction of all of their positions and pose for the next few seconds. This has the potential to be huge in applications with human-robot interaction, like self-driving cars. You might be wondering why this is significant compared to simply using the previous single-person prediction repeatedly. The key difference is, with our method, the one we're working on, we aim to capture the context of the interactions between individuals. This is important exactly for situations like playing catch, because the context of a ball being thrown makes it obvious what's going to occur in the next few seconds. By cropping the image and predicting the SMPL model for each individual separately, you lose sight of the bigger picture. And sure, bounding boxes and key points are good enough, but is good enough really where we want to set our bar? Thank you.
Thanks, Kira. Now the judges will take 2 minutes to score our final participant. All right, so that concludes our finalist presentations. Now we're going to be switching into our deliberation period. Our judges will take a 20-minute break and go into a different virtual room to deliberate. And during this period, we're going to be launching the poll for the People's Choice Award. So please make sure to select your choice. The winner will be announced after the break, and we will also be running a couple of short videos during the break. So stay tuned. Is anyone else thinking we should have had like the music they play before the press conferences during the deliberations to help the smooth jazz? Or better yet, we could have had Devonte actually play his guitar. Okay, so here we go. We have the winners. But before we get to the winners, I want to just take a moment to thank everybody, all of our judges, all of our staff volunteers who made this event possible. 3MT has always been an event of collaboration of our school community, and for that we thank you. Obviously, a huge thanks to all of the participants. What you have achieved over the past few days is no easy feat. Thank you for helping to create another successful 3MT competition. You've made our Ontario tech community very proud. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. Please help me in welcoming Juliana Rodriguez Dinocio Pereira, our gold sponsor, who will be presenting the winners for our event.
Thank you, Dr. Vivian. Can you hear me? Okay. Yes. So yeah, good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to say thank you for this opportunity to be here. It was a really great afternoon. I really enjoy learning a little bit more about what you guys have been doing and lots of great work. And I have to say it wasn't easy for us to make a decision. But we are happy to say that for the People's Choice, our winner is Ana Espinoza. Congratulations, Ana. It was a very good presentation. And on second place, our second winner is David McNaby. Congrats, David. And first place, congrats. And first place, our winner is Devon Campbell. Congratulations, Devon. It was a really good presentation.
Yay! Congratulations, everybody. And thank you for joining us at our 9th annual 3MT competition. Congrats to all the winners and all the participants. You shall be very proud of yourselves until we see everybody next year.
Bye, everyone.